Okay, those of you that are on, does somebody want to unmute and say if they can see my screen?
We see it. I can see it.
Woohoo! Thank you, Rick. So this is just a super fun topic I wanted to go over today. We talked at one of our last meetings recently about being the local economist of choice. Sometimes that comes in being knowledgeable about your community, being knowledgeable about vendors to offer your clients, whether it's for home services or anything. And that also comes from economics. And today we're going to talk about economics a little bit. We're going to talk about people a little bit. It's very casual. So if you have any questions, like feel free to unmute, pipe in. If you have anything to add, open forum today. So topic is think like a Zoomer. And did you know that our country is about to see the largest transfer of wealth in our nation's history? Not sure if you guys have heard that. They talked about it at Mega Camp. It was the first I heard it. Gary Keller brought it up and I thought like, wow, that's astonishing. And then I didn't hear a ton more about it. So I spent a little time researching and wanted to share some things with you guys. So Americans are staying in their home twice as long as they used to. This is obvious, we're saying, because of the lack of inventory, etc. But they're saying this is driven by boomers. So in some of the research I did, some fun facts are the median US homeowner is spending 11.9 years in their home. That is nearly double the amount of time people spent in their homes in 2005, when the median homeowner tenure was just 6.5 years. So I don't know about you guys. I've only been in the business 6 or 7 years. And when I first got in, they said it was more like 7 years. 7, 8 years is the amount of time people were spending in a home. That is rising just because of the boomer population. So then we have around 40% of boomers who own their homes have stayed put for 20 years or more, far longer than Gen X homeowners, of which just 35% have stayed in their homes for 10 years or more. This one was crazy to me. And I also think it is there's a generational difference between boomers and Gen X. Like I look at even my mom growing up, she never had a fancy purse. She didn't it's harder to keep up with the Joneses now, I think. And seeing that Gen X, who is in between boomers and millennials, there may be your 45 to 55-year-olds right now ish. So Gen X, just 35% of them have stayed in their home for 10 years or more. So we're seeing a lot of them. And I would say of recent years, people have had so much equity in their home. So maybe Gen Xers are upgrading more, where boomers have been more satisfied with what they have. And then we have in 2022, empty nester baby boomers owned 28% of homes in the US with 3 or more bedrooms. And this is kind of crazy. That was double the share that millennials with kids owned. So we have millennials renting, we have them like millennials with kids were not the majority of 3+ bedroom homes. It was boomers. Kind of crazy to me. So then this is going to be great news for some of you. 54%. So 54% of baby boomers. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a tongue twister of a day. So 54% of baby boomers who own homes owned them free and clear with no outstanding mortgage. So you guys, this is huge. This is huge for your investors. This is huge for everyone. I also feel that I'm going to go forward a slide here. So, or we'll go back to here. So what else is going to happen there is on top of the real estate boom that's going to happen when boomers start selling their homes is, so it says here 53 trillion is the amount of assets that baby boomers own right now. That is going to be transferred to Gen X, millennials, as well as Gen Z. And it says the shift is already in the works and will continue for a couple of decades, according to Wealth Management. Some 53 trillion will be passed down from boomers to their Gen X, millennial, and Gen Z heirs, as well as to charities. So it's not just in real estate, but their assets, their retirement, their life savings is going to be passed down to their kids. So what does that mean? Millennials and Zoomers and even some Gen X are going to have more money to bring to the table to purchase homes. This is really, really good news for us, especially as we've been on the cusp of no inventory. So here we can see generational nest eggs. I didn't know, to be quite honest with you guys, what the silent generation was until I started doing research here. Oh, and Brian or somebody, I can't see the chat while I'm sharing my screen. So feel free to unmute if there's something in the chat we need to go
Yes, it
over.
is me. Can you click present on the slideshow? We're still just looking at your cover page.
No way. Well, sure thing. I did hit present. But let's see. Let's see. It's only 2024. And believe it or not, I don't belong in the boomer category. Resume. Okay. Let's see. Can you see it this way?
I just see a black screen. I'm not sure about everybody else.
Just see a black screen. Okay. Well, this is going to be no fun if you guys can't see my screen because there's lots of good content in it. Here we go. What about now? Can you see my screen?
We're good now. Yeah.
Perfect. I'm just not going to do presentation mode if that's okay with all of you. You'll see it this way instead. So
Yeah, looks good to me.
All right, perfect. This is the slide I went over in regards to economics. These are things like I would take a screenshot of some of these. It's great to talk about when you're in a listing appointment. You want to know what's going on in the economy. So this is the one I reviewed, that 11.9, so almost 12 is the median range that people are spending in their homes now, driven by boomers. 40% of boomers have stayed 20 plus years or more, and then 28% of the homes are owned by boomers. And this is the other one you missed. This one's astonishing. The 54% of baby boomers who own their home own it outright, free and clear. This is huge opportunity as wealth is transferred. I'll just click over these real quick in case you guys wanted to grab a snapshot of them. 53 trillion is the amount of investments that's going to be transferred from the largest, what was one of the largest demographic populations, to their successors. And this is where I was. So looking here, we are, I was saying the silent generation I had never heard of. I'm embarrassed to say. But boomers, so we can see boomers far and wide own the most amount of assets, investments, real estate, etc. And if you guys pay attention to this, you see real estate is in blue. They also own the most amount of real estate for any generation. So as boomers start selling, it's going to give huge opportunity to millennials, to Gen Z, etc. And this just kind of gives you another graphic here. For quite a long time, boomers were the largest generation. Now they are surpassed by millennials, but that what was the largest generation is going to be transferring their wealth to millennials and Gen Z. So important thing to note. But what I want to focus on today is as this generational wealth happens, and I want you guys to understand it. I want you to know it's opportunities for investors. It's opportunity for boomers to know the value of their home, what they would get if they were to sell. And then also what's most important is I want you to know who the buyers are going to be. So the biggest portion of the population that's going to be buying these houses are millennials and their Gen Z. So millennials are open and adaptive to change, And then on the flip side, Gen Z tends to be more risk adverse. I am not going to spend a ton of time on millennials because we've been showing millennials homes. A lot of us are millennials on the call. We pretty much know how to handle millennials, but still I'm going to review a couple of the home buying stats of millennials. So millennials trailed boomers as the largest generation of home buyers in 2022. They now make up 28% of buyers versus the 39% of boomers. So millennials are the next largest generation. When buying a home, over half of millennials pay either full asking price or up to 10% more, according to NAR. So this stat, like I actually laughed when I read it because we all know as we're taking a millennial around to show them a house, their parents are like, you never want to pay this or don't go over this price or etc. And I wonder how millennials are going to be with their kids. Like, you're going to have to go 10% over. Won't that be nice for us as that happens? That was interesting. And then personal affordability issues keep 78% of aspiring homeowner millennials from purchasing a home. So obviously we have boomers hanging onto their homes as well as home prices rising and interest rates rising. So you want to know, it's funny when we talk about the lack of inventory, we only ever really talk about the interest rates and home prices being up, but it is also because all of these boomers are hanging on to their homes. 66% of millennials cite owning a home as a key element of the American dream, compared to 84% of baby boomers and 76% of Gen Xers. So that's interesting and something to absolutely keep an eye on. It seems like the importance of owning a home has gone down and down and down. And something I didn't find a ton of research on, but I would encourage you guys to look into a little more is knowing like I remember hearing that boomers didn't need the McMansion and the big fancy house. And then Gen X wanted the McMansion. And I feel like each generation kind of goes up and down of what's important to them. And we'll talk about that a little bit with the Zoomers here in a bit, but something to just be aware of as far as that goes. So here, what you need to know about Gen Z home buyers. And I'm going to go over 7 characteristics of what to look for and what to be aware of. But just so you guys know, Gen Zers, I don't know if there are any on this call, but they were born between 1997 and 2012. 85% of them plan to buy a home. So what's cool is if we go back to this slide where we see 66% say owning a home was important, 66% of millennials, 76% of Gen Xers, and then 84% of boomers, it was important. It looks like with the Gen Z, what's important to them is a little different than millennials. 85% plan to buy a home. So this is huge. 82% are motivated by personal ownership. 48% plan to purchase between 25 to 29 years old. And I would say that is almost everyone in that age range. I don't know. I know my little sister was born in 97 and I think she's 25 or 26. So most of them, I would say over the next 5 years, 48% of them are going to be planning on buying a home. 73% willing to pay for sustainability, which I'll get into that too. So if we want to gobble up this huge generation that's coming up, what do we need to do as real estate agents to think like a Zoomer? So number one, you should probably already know this. You probably do already know this, but we need to talk about it. You must beef up your online presence. So it's funny. Something I was reading said the way Gen Z looks at like social media is the way we look at internet. Like it's there, you don't really think about it. It is just what they know. So they're going to be going straight to social media for their research. And I can promise you, like if a Gen Zer reaches out to you to purchase a home, they've already looked you up on social media. And if they can't find anything, they probably didn't call you to see a home. So it's going to be super, super important. They will use the internet to find their agent. Can they find you? So this kind of falls into, what is your brand? Do you have a brand? What story are you telling? Etc. And meet them where they are. What's your brand that they will see? So I know we talked about this at the last meeting too, but I said, think of a toothpaste. If you're on here and listening, think of it in your head. Most of you probably are thinking of Crest. And it's just because of brand awareness. Like, that's the number one toothpaste we know. We want to be the number one realtor of choice as well. So whether you think I want, as far as social media goes, please don't worry about how many likes you're getting on a post, or how many comments, how many, etc. They just need to see you're there and that you're doing things. And I will also say, in addition to this beefing up your online presence, is beef up your personal presence as well. So the business things are always going to be there. Post them on your business page, share them to your personal, whatever. Don't expect your business posts to get as many likes. It's just not the nature of the business. But Gen Zers are going to want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. So what's important with your social media is, in addition to showing what you've sold or what you're doing in the business, you want to be able to connect with them. Like, show lifestyle, show you and your family, or you and your dog, or you at yoga, you in your adult softball league, whatever it is, whatever you're passionate about. I hope that is part of your brand and something they see, because you will get more interaction with that than anything. Highlight technology as an amenity. So Zoomers are all about connectivity and convenience. So keep this in mind when showing them listings. Smart homes will pique their interest. So we're starting to see, a lot of homes have a Nest system or some type of electric thermostat, or maybe it's all hooked up to Google and you can leave and tell Google to lock your house. I think those are going to be things that the Zoomers will be looking for. However, if it's not there, if it's a boomer home that's being sold, I'm going to guess you don't have as much technology in it, but being aware, knowing what it is, and being able to educate them on it, like, oh, here you could put XYZ. The Google Mesh system would go great. It would be a great feature to add. It's the same thing we used to do, where I would tell people when I first started, when they were first starting, go to Hartville Hardware, or go to Lowe's, or go to Home Depot, go to the hardware store and understand what type of flooring is available in certain price ranges, knowing what finer finishes are, knowing what cheaper finishes are. Those make you experts in your craft. We now need to do that with technology. So be able to understand the difference between Ring and whatever other brand. I obviously need to educate myself on it, but being able to educate them on technology and how to turn their home into a smart home. So I love this one, actually. Sell a purpose, not just a property. It's also important to clearly communicate what your values are as an agent. Remember, most Gen Zers prefer to work with an agent whose principles match their own. If you support various charitable institutions or have a corporate social responsibility program, be sure to highlight them on your website or social media postings. Not only will it get you good press, but it will also help Zoomers warm up to you. They want to know you're human. And this goes back to that brand awareness and post the personal things as much as you do the business. I would say I saw this with millennials, and I see it more with Gen Zers. Like, they want to give back, they care about humanity, and they want to know what you're doing. So I agree with this without a doubt. Like Sarah, I see you on the call, like, she's super involved with the Carson Strong Foundation, which is, I was like moved to tears when I went to one of the events with her. Sharing those stories and helping, it shows what's important to you without having to say it. Because when we are with a buyer or seller, and you're with one of these clients, a Zoomer, if you will, it's not time to talk about you. It's time to talk about them always. So how are they going to know who you are if you haven't shared it? Because you shouldn't share it when you're in a showing. It's about them. Be sure it's part of your brand. and that's how they're going to connect. Fourth item is thinking green. So 76% of Zoomers are worried about climate change. 73% are willing to pay for sustainable products. Not a huge surprise here, but just be super aware. And also be aware in, whether you do closing gifts or you don't do closing gifts, that's not really the point. But just being aware of what's important to them. Like there's been times I'll do a big bucket of Clorox cleanup and all these cleaning supplies. Maybe for a Zoomer, I am doing, what's that brand? Myers or whatever. You're doing more organic products, whatever it is, just knowing what's important to them and know that they're willing to pay for sustainability. So, and what I mean by that too is, if you don't know somebody who puts in solar panels, like maybe just where I said you need to update yourself on technology that can go into a home, update yourself on some of these eco-friendly items that can happen in a home. Solar paneling, or that's a great example. Know what it can do, have a contact for them because this generation will be willing to pay for it. Number 5 is entice with new normal features. Almost 70%, this is insane to me. Almost 70% of Zoomers work from home. I know nobody has their camera on, but like, I would imagine you guys are as shocked as I was. That's insane. And accommodate a work from home lifestyle. So if 70% of Zoomers are working from home, what do you think is important to them? A home office, of course. Sometimes I have noticed even going into homes, they need more bedrooms. Maybe they don't even have kids, but they want 4 bedrooms because they each have an office. So just being willing to understand that and creative when you walk into a home of where they can have space for themselves. And something I'll be interested to see is the open floor plans have been so popular for, I don't know, the last 20 years or so. And I wonder if we're going to go away from that just because so many people do work from home now. So something to be aware of. Again, we need to know what these trends are so we can educate. Then make a home move-in ready. So like we said earlier, most Zoomers are risk adverse. If they have qualms about a listing, they will most likely walk away. Another thing I read is they are not trying to get into a multiple offer situation. Where we learned about millennials, they will take a risk. They'll pay 10% over list price. Your Gen Zers are not going to. They would rather walk away than get into that situation. We're not going to be super excited about this one. Also going to be a little more cautious. They're going to be probably trigger shy as well. So you want to assure them through, it said through staging and inspections. I would say inspections are more important than staging. Where they talked about staging was just for them to be able to see their life in that home. But where inspections is going to be important is if you have a nervous Nelly, they are with this, you want to be sure that they have every detail they can. And one thing we're going to have to get back to, guys, I think with this is really explaining with Zoomers prior to the inspection, hey, just so you know, we are going to have probably a 50-page report after the inspection. I expect that they're doing their job. What we are looking for are major items that didn't meet the eye when we walked through. Maybe you didn't know there was an attic full of mold when you walked through, but you did see the cracked window. And hopefully as an agent, you've already told them about that cracked window. Just letting them know what the inspection report is about so they don't feel, even if it was an alarmist home inspector, they are prepared. The more you set expectations, the more relaxed they're going to be. So hope that makes sense. And then deliver a seamless experience. So for a generation that's used to getting what they want on the fly, thanks to the internet, they'll want to get hands-on service and prompt responses to their questions. So this one, I would say, especially those of you who operate as a solo agent, hats off to you for doing so, but also be very aware. You may need, whether it's a virtual assistant, a BOM transaction coordinator, or just an assistant in the office, whatever it is, some type of support so you can offer them a streamlined, seamless experience. Like we said on the other slide, I think Gen Zers are going to get a little more overwhelmed in the purchase. So being able to answer right away, or even simply, they're going to go to the internet first. So if they might reach out to you because they know you, and they're going to give you about 5 minutes. And if you don't respond, they're probably going to click on Zillow to see it. Just because this generation, more than anybody, has had that internet like this. Everything they get right away. I see it with my kids. They're not patient like we were. So, just understanding that, and how can we shift our business to accommodate that more. And like I said, you can't be Superman, you can't do it all, but is there a way that you can have a faster response time for your clients? Is there something in your business you can leverage, etc.? And that is about it for the Zoomers. Does anybody, before we close out, have any questions, comments, or ahas? Perfect. Okay. Well, if not, I thank you all for being here. Thank you for putting up with my wonky Canva and inability to share. I should probably put myself up in a higher age bracket generation. And I appreciate you all. Have a wonderful day. Keep an eye out for next week. We have staging your listings to get them to sell quicker. So it's going to be a great power up. We have Jess Tierney from Rough Diamond. Hope you can catch that one and make it a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.
Thanks.